Charlie, the Crispy Christ, he won his primary. Going to take on Ron DeSantis in November. Should DeSantis be worried here, Newt?
I've known Charlie Crist since he was a Republican state senator. His whole life is amazing. I mean, he was a Democrat, he's a Republican, he's an independent. Ron DeSantis needs to beat somebody by a big margin. I think that Charlie's a perfect example, and I think Ron will come out of Governor DeSantis will come out of this general election with probably the biggest margin in modern times for a Republican. Charlie's just, I mean, he doesn't exist.
All right, so here is former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, who, let's just say it, has definitely looked better, talking about the upcoming Florida governor's race. As you probably saw, Democrat Charlie Crist won the Democratic primary and is set to face Ron DeSantis in November. And let's just face the facts here. Gingrich is right that DeSantis will probably win by a lot. And I want to get into exactly why that is. As Ingram points out, Crist is someone who seemingly just wants to be involved in politics no matter the cost or what party he's in. He was the Republican governor of Florida already, where he opposed same-sex marriage and abortion. Then he became an independent and now allegedly is a Democrat. And this is who we are putting in the ring against Ron DeSantis, another Republican. We all know what Ron DeSantis has been doing in Florida and how dangerous it is. Day in and day out, he's chipping away at social liberties and bringing a state that was once blue farther and farther to the right with rapid speed. And as many in the media have pointed out, he is Trump's politics without Trump's personality, which in many ways is more dangerous. And I've talked this and last week about how bad the GOP candidate quality has been in these midterms. See Dr. Oz and Herschel Walker. But we also have to call it out when it happens on our side as well. The Democrats need to understand that fueling centrist candidates with a history of waffling from the left to the center to the right to the middle on issues doesn't inspire voters, especially in Florida where the stakes are so high. Look at this headline about the same guy from 2014. He is so desperate for his career that he will do whatever it takes to get power. But running as essentially a Republican against a more popular Republican and saying you don't want those Republicans to vote for you, all of this is like the dumbest strategy I've ever heard. Let's look at what happened elsewhere, particularly in New York with Mondaire Jones. So he was once a fierce progressive. He moved to a different district after redistricting shifted his once district, and he didn't want to run against Sean Patrick Maloney, who is an establishment den. So instead of leaning into those progressive beliefs and challenging Maloney, who as far as I can tell does not support Medicare for all, student debt forgiveness, so on and so forth, instead of challenging him, Jones moved districts. And I'm not saying he would have won the race. He probably wouldn't have. But to me, that is a good litmus test for candidates. Are they willing to sacrifice their careers as politicians for the fights they believe in? And Jones did not, and we should not forget that. Let's look at another race in Florida, the same state where DeSantis looks poised to rout the Democrats. I think we should be paying attention to this one. Maxwell Frost. He is one of the first Gen Z candidates to win a primary, and he is just 25 years old. It'll be fascinating to see how he does in the general in the same state again as DeSantis, but Frost is someone running on issues of universal health care, a livable wage, ending gun violence, and an endorsement by Bernie Sanders. We all know elections are so hard to predict and decipher, and it's always a shaky game deciding what messages to take away. But the Fox News warnings here are as sure as we can be. Weak, flip-flopping candidates from the left to the right and right to the left have basically handed DeSantis a victory. Someone with more grit and an issue focused who isn't solely interested in their career as a politician, though, very well could have changed that narrative. Thanks so much for watching. You can follow me on all platforms at Caro Johnson 917.